All right, let's move on to our next topic here. This one actually comes from Jason Monk, and he actually proposed this question to us a while ago. And I told him we would base an entire show around it. Here we are. So, this entire next segment, Monk, is dedicated to you and this question. He says, which former quarterback would you have loved to have seen play in the Ryan Day offense? Now, if we go back to when Ryan Day was the OC,
2017, correct?
16
Yeah.
or 17.
I
I
think he came
know.
in January of 2017.
So we have seen three of the best quarterbacks in Ohio State history statistically under his offense guidance and leadership. Now, there's a giant argument out there that Ohio State's never produced an NFL caliber quarterback, and that's partially true. We've not had a major winning NFL quarterback. However, we've had some doggone good quarterbacks, some Heisman winning quarterbacks. Um, so I've got to throw this question out to you first, and I want you to answer this one, Chris. Who are some former quarterbacks you would have loved to have seen in this Ryan Day offense?
Well, I'm going to throw a little love towards the monk myself, because one of the first ones that came to my mind was Kenny Guyton as well. I mean, I would have loved to have seen him, but he would have still had to get on the field. For me, the two that really stood out though, one being Cardale Jones. He was he was not the most athletic guy in the world. He was more that pocket passer. He had the big arm. I think he would have done very well in a Ryan Day system. I think Day knew better how to manage a guy like Cardale than what we saw with Urban, who wanted to make him run the same playbook that we saw with JT Barrett, and he just didn't have the same athleticism to do that. Better arm, not the same athleticism. The other one that came to my mind, which I thought would, you know, and there's always this what if surrounding him, that's Braxton Miller. When Braxton was playing the quarterback position before the injury, before he had to go to wide receiver, man, I just think Ryan Day could have really designed some dynamic things to do with that guy. I mean, you look at what he did with Justin Fields, and I think that, I think that comparably as far as arm strength and things go, Braxton and Justin were very similar. I think that Braxton was a little more obviously dynamic as far as athletically goes. So I think I would have loved to have seen him get his hands on Braxton, but the one that stands out to me most is probably Cardale. I think Cardale was robbed during his time here after that great 3-game run. I think he was put in a position where he wasn't set up to succeed, and I think that Ryan Day could have done a lot with that talent.
So I've got two names for you, and one of them is kind of a shot in the dark here. He's one of my favorite people of all time. When I had the chance to meet this guy, I was just wowed by how kind he was. He was a doggone good quarterback back when quarterback play was not nearly what it is today.
But would this be something we ran into at a tailgate last year, Eric? Would this
Mm,
be the quarterback you ran into at? In fact, I believe it was at
no,
Ryan's tailgate last year, wasn't it?
no. I'm thinking about Cornelius Green.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think Corny Green was way before his time.
yeah.
This is a Woody Hayes guy. This is a guy who played with Archie Griffin back in the
Mm-hmm.
70s,
70s.
man. And he had just about as many rushing yards as he did passing yards. And this was obviously under one of Woody Hayes' best teams. It was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But Greeny, man, Corny had an arm.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have seen someone like that. When you think about an older era of
Mm-hmm.
football and bringing it into modern times, I would have loved to have seen what Corny Green could have done in Ryan Day's offense. I think that would have been really neat to see. The other one I've got for you is probably someone that you're not going to like, but dude, there was if things wouldn't have got a little sideways for him,
TP.
Terrell Pryor.
Yeah.
He was built like a German tank, man.
Yes, he was.
Huge human being, big arm, very muscular, extremely athletic. Uh, and imagine, I mean, I've said this before, and I've gotten a little bit of heat from Chris, from Ohio State fans on this. I think Terrell Pryor was a little bit of Justin Fields before Justin Fields. He's a bigger Justin Fields. Justin might have him slightly maybe in the athletic department a little bit, but not much. And I think Terrell, his arm strength and just his overall game, what he brought as a quarterback, the whole package was incredible. Now, like I said, things got a little sideways there at the end, and in today's environment, it would have been like, no big deal. Who cares? But back then, of course, it ended up getting the sweater vest fired. But I think Terrell Pryor and Ryan Day's offense would have been national championship gold. So those were the two that came to my mind. Let's see what you all think out there. Ryan says Troy Smith. I mean, 2006 Troy Smith,
Yeah.
when he was actually allowed to run the offense and throw the football. That could have made a big difference, absolutely, for him. Yeah, that's a good one, Ryan. Jason says, Cardale couldn't hit the mid-level throws in 2015. In his 3-game run, I think he greatly benefited from having Devin Smith, who was the greatest deep ball tracker ever.
He did, and Jason's not completely wrong. He did struggle with some of those mid-level throws at times. But you know what? Who knows what would have happened with a different offense? Again, this was not an offense that was set up for Cardale to succeed. It really wasn't. This was an offense that was set up for JT Barrett to succeed.
They had everything that season set up for them, and those of you who know the story of what was going on behind the scenes with that coaching staff,
yeah,
it was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah,
it was a train wreck. Yeah, and it was no fault to Cardale or JT or
right.
I mean, they had the best roster in college football, and we kind of just talked about this on the last episode a little bit. Having the best roster in college football is one thing. Managing that roster is a completely different other thing, and they failed that season really, really bad. They failed. Maybe a couple other guys that come to your mind, Chris. Anybody else that kind of? I mean, I've got one other guy I want to bring up, but I want to hear what else you've got, and we want to know what all you think out there too.
Like I said, I'm with Monk. I would like to have seen what would happen if Kenny Guyton could have got out there on the field regularly in a system like what Ryan Day ran. I really think that he was, like you said, Ryan Day likes those leaders. I think he was a great leader on the field. I think he had talent. I think he was unfortunately buried behind a great roster. He came in when Braxton went down the one time, but he never really got a great shot to get in there. And as I think back, I mean, it's really hard to think, could some of these guys have really excelled in Ryan Day's, system? Because you think back to some of the guys that we had with the Bobby Hoyings and the Craig Krenzels and the, going back to a gentleman who we're going to talk to, I believe, next week, Greg Fry, Kent Graham. These guys were very good for their era, but I don't know if they could have, if they were built for this type of particular, offense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you'd have a hard time. You're going to be hard pressed going back to find somebody who I think could really excel in Ryan's Day's offense, who's not a more modern era quarterback.
So what I hear you saying maybe is that, and this is a scary thing to get into, the success of Ohio State is based off Ryan Day's offense, not so much the player.
Well, for a long time, and we saw it, I think, a little bit with, jumping to the pros a little bit. I like my NFL. Tom Brady, considered, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. The argument was always that he was a Belichick system quarterback. Well, he went and he kind of put the kibosh on that win and won Super Bowl in Tampa, but since then, what has he
Yeah,
really
but
done?
he's also 40, so he's older than me.
Well,
So
he is. He is older, and of course your talents are going to decline. But I think that the right type of athlete benefits from the right type of system. I think it's not necessarily one or the other. You have to have both.
okay.
Because if you take, I mean, you take, Justin Fields and put him in a Jim Tressel or John Cooper system. Are we going to see the Justin Fields that we saw passing the ball? No. We're going to see I think, a more dynamic running Justin Fields, but we're not going to see
Sure.
the passing Justin Fields.
Okay. Got a name for you.
Okay.
One more. I want to throw this one out at you. How about the babyface assassin? No Joe Germain? No Joe Germain? No?
Maybe. Yeah, he had the arm for it. He did have swagger. He was a good leader on the field. He would have succeeded more under Ryan Day than he did under Cooper, and he had a pretty good run under Cooper. So, I
He
mean,
would have he would have definitely succeeded more under Ryan Day's offense than he would Urban Meyer. That is
yeah.
absolutely for sure. Urban Meyer would have never even had him on the team.
Oh no, he would have had Stanley Jackson running the ball. He
He
would
would
have
have ran
JT
Stanley's
Barrett.
legs off.
He
Yes.
would have had the original JT Barrett in that case.
But I'm thinking Joe Germain might have actually in Ryan Day's offense done really, really well. And he did pretty good in John Cooper's offense. So
Did you catch that last comment that just came up, Eric? Is somebody kind of sweet on Joe Germain?
yeah. Out of all my autographs, that one might be one of her favorites. Yeah.
That or Bobby Carpenter, right?
Yeah. I'll throw it up there. Yeah. So the beautiful wife is watching, and she said, "Oh yes, he had swagger with that baby face." Oh, someone's gonna be sleeping on the couch tonight. It's probably gonna be me. Um, so yeah, good call there. Good call. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick commercial break. We do want to let you know Greg Fry was scheduled to join us and obviously continue on with this quarterback conversation we're having. He had to reschedule for next week. So Greg Fry will be on next week's show. So if you had those questions for Greg, make sure you keep them and bring those back. I do want to get one more comment here because this was one guy I actually thought of.
Yeah.
Joel, he says, what about Art Schlichter or Kirk Herbstreit? Kirk Herbstreit, I don't care what system you would have put that guy in.
He's a great announcer.
He's definitely a better announcer than he was quarterback. But Art Schlichter, I thought about that one, Chris. What do you think?
That guy throwing the ball. Yeah, he was the one who set the records before our guys came along here recently. So, I do think that Schlichter would have definitely had an even more stellar career under Ryan Day in that kind of offense. But again, we can't really know because there was such a difference in the way they played football in that era. It's just so hard to predict.
It really is. It really is. But yeah, I met Art. I actually liked the guy.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to have seen that too.
In
But
fact, that's who I thought you were going to say earlier before you said Cornelius Green, because did you not actually meet him at Ryan's tailgate last year?
I did. I met him at
yeah.
Ryan's tailgate last year. Absolutely. Yep.